मसीह यीशु के कादर नाम में आप तमाम बहनों, भाइयों, बच्चों और बुजुर्गों की सलामती हो। गुड मॉर्निंग फ्रॉम सदर्न कैलिफोर्निया एंड वेलकम टू मिस्टर विक्टर अज़राया, जनरल सेक्रेटरी ऑफ द नेशनल काउंसिल ऑफ चर्चेज इन पाकिस्तान। और आज मेरे लिए ये बड़े इस्तेकाक की बात है कि आज हम जिस मौजू पे और जिस शख्सियत से बात करेंगे, he has a wealth of resources, a lifetime experience, and invested his life in the Protestant and even in for the integration of the Christian worship and witness in Pakistani context. मेरे जीजो, तारीख को जानना क्यों ज़रूरी है? किसी शख्स ने कहा है कि इफ़ यू डोंट नो योर हिस्ट्री यू विल लूज योर आइडेंटिटी, अदरवाइज और यू विल बी वेंडरिंग अराउंड द वर्ल्ड विदाउट एनी आइडेंटिटी। सो पाकिस्तान के अंदर मिशन की तारीख को जानना या मसीहियत की तारीख को जानना बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है। जनरली पाकिस्तान की मसीही तारीख को तीन बड़े धारों में, तीन बड़े हिस्सों में, वेव्स जिसे हम कहेंगे, लहरों में बयान किया जाता है। सबसे पहली वेव जो तारीखदान बयान करते हैं वो है मुकद्दस तोमा रसूल के दौर में, जब पहली सदी में टेक्सला के मकाम पर हिस्टोरियन इस बात पर, आल दो दे आर डिवाइडेड फ्रेगमेंटेड, लेकिन इस बात पर एग्री हैं कि वो टेक्सला पहुंचे, वहाँ से वो केरला, जो इंडिया का जो गोवा, जो वहाँ का जो इलाका है, वहाँ पहुंचे और वहाँ मारथोमा कलीसिया जो थी वो कायम की। और आज तक सीरियन ऑर्थोडॉक्स चर्च और जो सीरियन वर्शिप प्रैक्टिस है वहाँ पर दे क्लेम सेंट थॉमस हेरिटेज ओवर देयर। उसके बाद पाकिस्तान में हमें पहली सेंचुरी मसीहत का कोई हमें निशान नज़र नहीं आते। इसके बाद अंडर दैट 400-500 साल गुजरते हैं और फिर कहा यह जाता है कि जो नस्टोरियन होली सी था पर्शियन सी के ऊपर, दे वर मैनेजिंग दैट एरिया, ईरान से लेकर हिंदुस्तान तक जो था। बट वी डोंट हैव एनी ऑन गोइंग हिस्टोरिकल प्रैक्टिसेस ऑन ग्राउंड। तीसरी वेव जो बड़ी वेव है वो है कार्मेलाइट, पोर्चुगीज एंड जेजुइट मिशनरीज की। रोमन कैथोलिक मिशन जो था, जो मुगल बादशाह अकबर के दरबार में पहुंचता है। सो उसकी हमें थोड़ी बहुत बकाया जात, उसके रेमनेंट्स हमें नज़र आते हैं, जो कि मुख्तलिफ सूरतों में इंडिया में मौजूद हैं, और हमारे पास लाहौर के अंदर कुछ ऐसी जगह मौजूद हैं जहाँ पर हमें इसके निशानात मिलते हैं। एंड देन अगेन वी डोंट हैव द कंटिन्यूटी ऑफ द क्रिश्चियन प्रेजेंस, क्रिश्चियन प्रैक्टिसेस एंड द क्रिश्चियन मिशन एक्टिविटीज ओवर देयर। एंड देन हम उतरते हैं जी मॉडर्न, जिसे हम प्रोटेस्टेंट ग्रेट सेंचुरी का नाम देते हैं, कि जहाँ से मिशनरी इदारे जो थे वो हिंदुस्तान, उस वक्त के जो इंडिया था, ब्रिटिश इंडिया, जो कॉलोनियल दौर शुरू होने से पहले जब वो पहुंचते हैं 1854 1854 में, यूपीसीएन, यूनाइटेड प्रेस्बिटेरियन चर्च ऑफ नॉर्थ अमेरिका जो है वो वहां पहुंचता है। इसके साथ साथ सीएमएस, चर्च मिशन सोसाइटी फ्रॉम इंग्लैंड एंड सियालकोट, दे वर ऑलरेडी वर्किंग ओवर देयर एंड कोलैबोरेशन शुरू होता है। और फिर जब मुकम्मल तौर पर कॉलोनियल ग्रिप आ गई है ब्रिटिश इंडिया के ऊपर जहां पर वो हुकूमत करते थे, फिर हम देखते हैं कि मुख्तलिफ दीगर जो मिशन इदारे थे, जिनमें डच मिशन है, उसके बाद डैनिश मिशन है, उसके बाद लूथरन मिशन है, देवर वेरियस मिशंस जो कि उसके उस खिते में पहुंचे हैं। लेकिन आज हम बात करेंगे खास तौर पर पाकिस्तान में जो प्रोटेस्टेंट मिशन हिस्ट्री है, जो शुरू होती है आफ्टर द इंडिपेंडेंस, यानी पाकिस्तान और इंडिया की तकसीम के बाद जब मिशनरी फ्लाइट होती है, और उस दौर में जो लीडर्स और जो मिशनरी इदारे कायम हो चुके थे, जब वो खड़े होते हैं, तो फिर हम वहां से शुरू करेंगे। हमारे साथ विक्टर अज़राया हैं। विक्टर अज़राया साहब, वेलकम टू द कॉन्वर्सेशन एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग दिस मॉर्निंग।
So nice of you. Thank you very much. I am very
अज़राया
happy.
साहब, मुझे पता है आपके पास पिछले कोई 70-80 सालों का इन्वेस्टमेंट, आपके पास हिस्ट्री है। सो लेट्स बिगिन विद योर लाइफ स्टोरी। वुड यू लाइक टू शेयर अपनी मिनिस्ट्री, अपनी खिदमत, अपने ख़ानदान के बारे में, अपने बुलावे, अपने लाइफ के बारे में थोड़ा सा बताइए, दोज हु डजंट नो हु विक्टर अज़राया इज।
मैं ब्रीफली अपने खानदान के मतलब I will let you know. My father, Mr. Azariah, he was a teacher and he served in different schools. जो मुझे मालूम हुआ, राजा बाजार स्कूल में भी काम किया, लखनऊ में भी किया, बॉम्बे में किया, आखिरी में उन्होंने सेंट फ्रांसिस स्कूल लाहौर में काम किया। We are 6 brothers and there are 2 sisters. 4 brothers are no more in the world and your sisters and they are no more. We have 2 brothers left. This is a brief story of my family. It's a very big family. In California, there is not less than 40-50 Azariahs are living over there. My son, my nephews and their relatives many others. So I will begin with how I came in touch with the church. I was working in FC College, and I was elected as an elder in 1958 for the FC College Church. I didn't know what does mean elder. So when I entered to that, by and by, I learned what is the responsibility of an elder. Then in 1976, the FC College was a member of the Lahore Church Council. Lahore Church Council was a body, Presbyterian body, church body, having their work in Kasur district and Sheikhupura district and Lahore district. This was the boundaries of the working boundaries of the Lahore Church Council. And I was elected secretary for the Lahore Church Council. And many times I was elected and re-elected, and I worked for at least 16 years in the Lahore Church Council as secretary. I used to travel every Saturday, Sunday to the villages. Almost all villages I visited because people wanted me to come and talk to them, stay there, and worship with them. So this is my. I'm not a pastor because I don't give the lectures like that, but I do if it is required and I'm asked to do that. Then Lahore Church Council have a Rangmahal High School in education. FC College was also connected to the Lahore Church Council because the majority of the board members were from the Lahore Church Council because of the Presbyterian region. And then we in Rawalpindi, Raja Bazar School was the Presbyterian, and many other schools, Hajipura, Sialkot में और दीगर इलाकों में ये लाहौर चर्च काउंसिल से ताल्लुक रखते थे. कुछ यूपी चर्च से लगते थे जैसे सीटीआई वगैरह से. I may miss many institutions because it's a long list. But after just to make it short, after Lahore Church Council secretaryship, the time came that we decided to bring unity between Lahore Church Council and the United Presbyterian Church of Gujranwala headquarters. That took a year conversation back and forth, and some of the PCUSA members also helped us in this matter. In 1993, the Lahore Church Council and UP Church merged with each other. And the new name was the Presbyterian Church of Pakistan. Now there is no UP Church, there is no Lahore Church Council. Now there is a Presbyterian Church of Pakistan in place of these two former churches. So this is the story of the Presbyterian Church, the beginning of the Presbyterian Church. So I was also elected executive secretary of the Presbyterian Church. I worked for 2 years, and then in 1995 I left that job. So this is brief. I'm very brief. I'm telling you there are so many things which I can talk to you. But after 93 and 95, I remained in the church as a individually working for church, but not having any position. In 1999, I was elected as the General Secretary of the National Council of Churches. And still I'm working here. I'm sitting before you. And National Council of Churches is the Salvation Army, Christian Church, Church of Pakistan, all dioceses, and ARP Church from Saibal, and many other parachurch organizations. They are members of the National Council of Churches. This is briefly, I'm telling you about the National Council of Churches. Then because I'm telling you my own story, because of these connections, I was invited by the Christian Conference of Asia. I remained member of the executive committee of the Christian Conference of Asia for 5 years, from 2000 to 2005. So I visited many countries and attended their meetings and explained about the Pakistan situation. And for example, Indonesia, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Korea, so many countries I visited there.
Thank you very much. जी थैंक यू वेरी मच अज़राया साहब आपकी इट्स अ वास्ट एरे टू कवर बट एनीवे थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग योर ब्रीफ लाइफ स्टोरी सो जो मुझे बात समझ आई है वो ये है कि यू आर इन्वॉल्व इन द एजुकेशनल मिनिस्ट्री सिंस बिकॉज ऑफ योर फादर वाज अ एजुकेटर एंड देन यू वर पार्ट ऑफ द FC कॉलेज एट दैट टाइम and primarily your whole involvement in a church circles was in a Presbyterian circles because of the historical connection with the Presbyterian church. सो वो लोग जो जान रहे हैं जिनको नहीं पता, मैं चूँकि खुद प्रेस्बिटेरियन चर्च का पादरी हूँ, गुजरावाला थियोलॉजिकल सेमिनरी से मैं ग्रेजुएट हुआ और 1999 टिल 2002 दैट वाज माय ईयर एंड देन ऑर्डेन इन द कराची प्रेस्बिटरी, जो कि बाद में आर्थर जेम्स साहब जो PCP बनने के बाद 1996 में कराची प्रेस्बिटरी एडिड इन द ओरिजिनल, जैसे राया साहब ने बताया है, LCC और जो UPC गुजरावाला सेंटर बेस और लाहौर सेंटर बेस जो सारा चर्च था, दे वर यूनाइटेड और वो प्रेस्बिटेरियन चर्च ऑफ पाकिस्तान के नाम से and he served as a first general secretary. लेकिन थोड़ा सा पीछे चलते हैं और बात करते हैं कि जो कॉलेज था FC कॉलेज और they were established by under the mission practice of UPCNA as an education approach to that region. और वो दुनिया के किसी भी मुल्क में होते थे, खासतौर पर जो कॉलोनीज थी, वेस्टर्न कॉलोनीज थी, चाहे वो मिस्र हो, इजिप्ट, चाहे वो हिंदुस्तान हो उस वक्त का, या और भी इलाके जो थे, देयर वर 3 मेजर अप्रोचेस जो वो लेते थे. नंबर 1 एजुकेशन, नंबर 2 मेडिकल एंड नंबर 3 सोशल वर्क. और इसके ज़रिए दे रीच आउट. और आज हम कवर करेंगे अज़राया साहब के साथ मिलकर पाकिस्तान में जो उन्होंने एजुकेशन और फिर जो चर्च उन्होंने उन्होंने वहाँ पर इस्टेब्लिश किया. तो अज़राया साहब, मैं इस वक्त मैं चूँकि मेरा रिसर्च पेपर भी आ रहा है, आई एम ऑलरेडी राइटिंग, होपफुली दैट पब्लिश एज अ बुक, और मेरे सामने इस वक्त खुला हुआ है प्रेस्बिटेरियन हिस्टोरिकल सोसाइटी, द नेशनल आर्काइव ऑफ द PC USA, जो कि उनकी बहुत बड़ी लाइब्रेरी है पूरी दुनिया में. जैसे उनके मेरे एक दोस्त थे हंटर फेरल, और ही वाज अ मिशन डायरेक्टर फॉर द PC USA, और वो मुझे बताते हैं कि प्रेस्बिटेरियंस डू 2 गुड थिंग्स. नंबर 1 दे एस्टैब्लिश इंस्टीट्यूशन एंड नंबर 2 दे कीप रिकॉर्ड. और इस रिकॉर्ड और इस आर्काइव, क्योंकि मुझे अप्रोच है उस तक एज अ रिसर्चर, तो यहाँ पर मैं देख रहा हूँ कि जो गाइड है इंडियन पाकिस्तानी मिशन रिकॉर्ड्स की, वो बात करते हैं जी 1854 में सियालकोट मिशन से वो बात करते हैं. फिर उसके बाद वो गाइड देते हैं आर पार जॉनसन पेपर्स, जो कि 1967 से लेकर 1972 तक ही वॉज इन द हेडक्वार्टर्स इन द लाहौर. और उसके बाद वो गाइड देते हैं जी, गाइड टू द चर्च वर्ल्ड सर्विस रिकॉर्ड है, अर्बन एंड इंडस्ट्रियल मिशन रिसोर्सेस हैं, गाइड टू द UPCNA इन द USA कमीशन ऑन एक्यूमेनिकल मिशन एंड रिलेशन रिकॉर्ड. ये सारे रिकॉर्ड मौजूद हैं जी. मैं इसलिए ये सारे रिसोर्सेज बता रहा हूँ कि वो स्टूडेंट्स जो तारीख के तालिब इल्म, और ख़ास तौर पर जो प्रेस्बिटेरियन मिशन की तारीख को, क्योंकि हम आज बात कर रहे हैं इंटरनल व्यू की, जो कि एथनोग्राफिक रिसर्च के अंदर इंटरनल वॉइस के, ये सारी मिशनरियों की वॉइसेस हैं, उनके रिकॉर्ड हैं, उनकी रिपोर्ट्स हैं, उनके वो उनका रिकॉर्ड है. लेकिन अंदर की बात सुनना बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि अदरवाइज यू डोंट हैव बोथ साइड ऑफ स्टोरी, यू हैव ओनली वन साइड ऑफ स्टोरी. तो ज़राया साहब, हम बात करते हैं, चूँकि आपने जिक्र किया है कि यू वर पार्ट ऑफ लाइक 1970s की हम बात करते हैं. ये वो दौर है जब अरब इसराइल वॉर की वजह से मिशनरीज जो हैं वो उन खित्तों से निकल रहे हैं जहाँ पर वो ऑलरेडी मौजूद थे, और वो लोकल चर्च को दे रहे हैं इख्तियारात. देवर अ थ्योरी जिसको 3 सेल्फ थ्योरी कहा जाता है, सेल्फ सपोर्टिंग, सेल्फ प्रोपगेटिंग एंड सेल्फ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. Although they don't allow and they don't have mechanism to give resources or a tool to the local church to self-theologizing and contextualization, जो कि बहुत बड़ा गैप है. इसकी बुनियाद पर हम शुरू करते हैं जी. आप चूँकि प्रेस्बिटेरियन चर्च का हिस्सा रहे हैं, तो इनकी रिपोर्ट के मुताबिक जो मैं यहाँ पढ़ रहा हूँ उसके मुताबिक हम बात करते हैं, आप चूँकि एनसीसीपी नेशनल चर्चेज ऑफ काउंसिल को भी रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, लेकिन आपका प्राइमरली रूट्स जो हैं वो हैं प्रेस्बिटेरियन हिस्ट्री के अंदर। इस पर रोशनी डालिएगा कि वो कौन से अवामिल थे अकॉर्डिंग टू द मिशनरी रिपोर्ट के मुताबिक, जब एक तरफ तो जो एंग्लिकन यूनियन थी वो तो इकट्ठी हो रही थी, ठीक है, चर्च ऑफ पाकिस्तान क्रिएट हो रहा था, लेकिन दूसरी जानब कार्ल मैकंटायर और डॉक्टर के एल नासर पाकिस्तान के अंदर होते हुए और प्रोफेसर यूसुफ नैयर जो थे, उनके दौर में प्रेस्बिटेरियन चर्च जितना भी मौजूद था वो दो हिस्से हो गया। इसके आपकी यादाश्त में या आप एज अ लोकल विटनेस होते हुए आप इसको कैसे देखते हैं?
ये मूवमेंट जो मैकंटायर की पाकिस्तान में है, डॉक्टर के एल नासर was the person who started this with the help or with the support of McIntyre. And he was the principal at that time of the seminary, Gujarat. There were differences between the missionaries. Of course, देसी लोग भी शामिल थे उसमें, और they became hostile to K.L. Nasser. That was the main reason why Dr. K.L. Nasser separated himself from the mainline church. So, डॉक्टर नासर से मेरी कई दफ़ा मुलाकात भी हुई उन दिनों में, जब वो इस मूवमेंट को अभी स्टार्ट करने लगे थे। फिर उनके साथ पादी जंग बहादुर, who was the secretary of the Lahore Church Council and a retired pastor, he also joined K.L. Nasser in the McIntyre movement. So they established and they created a lot of trouble in the church. A lot of division came in everywhere, even in the villages, towns, cities, because Nasser was very popular person because of his intellectuality and his work in the church and the seminary. So briefly, I would say that it was not because of any theology or theological differences, it is only personal gain, a personal loss. That was the main reason. So I know that before he declared, he attended the meeting of the National Council of Churches, general meeting, and he told me that after this is my last meeting, and after that, I will not be coming to National Council of Churches because he is separating himself. He told me personally about that. Then you know what happened. And churches were divided, and for many years this continued. Now it is silent. There is no McIntyre. There is no K.L. Nasser following. Churches are together in their own areas. But the division which was created at that time, that seed is still going on in the Presbyterian Church of Pakistan in different shape. So that is the main problem which the Presbyterian Church of Pakistan is facing at this moment.
जी, ये अलमिया है, इससे ट्रेजेडी कहेंगे, डिलेमा कहेंगे हमारा, और इसमें जो अवामिल जैसे अज़राया साहब ने जिक्र किया है, जनरली पीसी यूएसए या वेस्ट के अंदर जब चर्च डिवाइड होता है, ये अलग, ये नहीं है कि यहाँ चर्च डिवाइड नहीं होते, देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ डिवीजन हियर भी, यहाँ पर होते हैं, लेकिन दे हैव अ थियोलॉजिकल बिब्लिकल रीजन, नॉट द चर्च पॉलिटी, दे हैव एकेडमिक रीजन। जैसे अज़राया साहब ने जिक्र किया है कि द मेजर रीजन फॉर द फर्स्ट डिवीजन ऑफ द प्रेस्बिटेरियन चर्च थ्रू डॉक्टर के.एल. नासर एंड द अदर टीम्स, दे वर पर्सनल पावर, पर्सनल प्रिविलेजेस एंड पर्सनल prestige which was clash between leaders and they burned the stakes. और अलमिया ये है मेरे जीजो, मैं चूँकि हिस्ट्री इज़ वॉचिंग, आई एम अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ हिस्ट्री, और मेरा ये चूँकि सब्जेक्ट है मिशन हिस्ट्री हो या वर्शिप हिस्ट्री हो, लिहाजा हम ये देख रहे हैं जैसे ज़राया साहब ने कहा कि इसकी जो लहरें हैं उस डिवीज़न की वो आज तक चल रही हैं, और मुझे अच्छी तरह याद है, मैं जब गुजरांवाला सेमिनरी में स्टूडेंट था उस वक्त भी एक कोशिश हुई डॉक्टर आर्थर जेम्स साहब की सूरत में, अल्ताफ़ खान या कोई ग्रुप था, समहाउ दे ट्राई टू ब्रिंग देम टुगेदर फ्रॉम फैसलाबाद, लाइलपुर, टू ब्रिंग देम टुगेदर, बट आई डोंट नो व्हाट्स हैपन, इट डिडंट
They never came.
validated,
They never.
वो काम नहीं हो सका। उसके बाद फिर अभी रिसेंटली तारीख जो करंटली है 3-4 साल पुरानी है, और इसमें हमने देखा है कि चर्च अगेन डिवीजन दर डिवीजन हो गया है, और जिसमें प्रेस्बिटेरियन चर्च के सिर्फ जो डॉक्टर अज़राया साहब ने बात की, वैसे बड़े दिलचस्प ये बात है, अगेन लाहौर चर्च काउंसिल एंड गुजरांवाला जो कि पीसी यूएसए का हेडक्वार्टर था या काम था, दे आर ऑन अ वन साइड, सियालकोट, रावलपिंडी, फैसलाबाद एंड फ्यू अदर मेजर जो शहर हैं या जो चर्चेज हैं, वहाँ पर वहाँ की डिवीजन अलग हो गई है, इंक्लूडिंग लाहौर। लाहौर सम चर्चेज आर आल्सो देयर। हम दुआ कर सकते हैं कि खुदावंद इस डिवीजन को रोके, आल दो हिस्ट्री ये बता रही है कि जितनी भी डिवीजन हुई हैं वो दोबारा रिकनसाइल नहीं हो सका, और जिससे ये पैटर्न नज़र आ रहा है कि आगे भी मुश्किल नज़र आता है, लेकिन गॉड इज़ अ गॉड ऑफ मिरेकल। सो हम इससे बाहर निकलते हैं जी डिवीजन से, और अब हम आगे आते हैं। अज़राया साहब, ये तो होगी इंटरनल इश्यूज जो चर्च फेस कर रहा था, ठीक है। इंटरनल इशू इसलिए भी कि जब मिशनरी फ्लाइट हुई है तो और एक्सटर्नल इश्यूज भी हमारे सामने आए, जिसका रीज़न ये थी कि मिशनरियों को भागना पड़ा और उनको लोकल लीडर्स के हाथों में जो था वो भागदौड़ देनी पड़ी, उनको इंडिपेंडेंट करना पड़ा ताकि वो उसको चला सकें। व्हाट वर द पॉलिटिकल, ecclesial and religious factors that influenced at that time church in Pakistan?
Actually, it is, when the missionary went out of Pakistan, they never disclosed to us what are the reasons they are going out. They were quiet on this matter. They came and they go. This was the situation at that time. But one thing is very important, that they never mixed with the local churches. They always wanted to remain in command. And that was the reason that the people at large have no idea why the missionaries came and why they have left. As far as the Lahore Church Council is concerned, I am a witness to this. There were certain properties in Kasur. There was a school during 1965 war that was occupied by the military for military purposes. When I came to as a secretary, I approached the general commanding officer and I got that vacated. And I was very happy that the school is vacated, and I sent a letter to the military that we need so much money to reconstruct this because of the damage which was done by the war by the military people. So they agreed to that. But to my surprise, the Presbyterian Church office, 6 Empress Road, they sold that property without our knowledge.
To whom?
To a Muslim.
Okay.
I mean, they were more interested to sell their properties.
Are you talking about the missionary who sold or the local leaders?
Missionaries.
Missionaries, okay.
Empress Road.
Okay.
At office. Then there is a big chunk of property, 56 canals in Kasur. And one of the missionary who was there at that time, he said, we want to sell it for 25 lakhs. You might be knowing Reverend Edgar Khan, pastor of the Nalakha Church. He told me, Victor, इन्होंने बेच देना है, कोई बंदोबस्त करो, पैसा तो हमारे पास होता नहीं। मैंने 2.5 लाख रुपया कर्ज लेके उनको एडवांस दिया कि ये प्रॉपर्टी जो है हम खरीद लेंगे, आपको पैसे दे देंगे। आइडिया ये था कि part of the property we will sell and a major portion of the property we will keep for the church. After some time, they cancelled the deal also. So मेरा जो experience है, ज़्यादा problem पैदा हुई है, इनका शौक था जो भी प्रॉपर्टी है उसको बेचो, जैसे भी बिक सकती थी।
अज़राया साहब, मैं यहाँ पर होल्ड कर रहा हूँ, आपको मिशनरीज के नाम याद हैं? आपकी मेमोरी में है कौन थे?
अभी जोर लगाना पड़ेगा याद करने के
कोई
लिए।
बात नहीं, आप बाद में बता सकते हैं, नो प्रॉब्लम। ओके, सो जी इसका मैं होल्ड कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पर, मैं जरा रिवर्स आपका थोड़ा सा रीइंफोर्स करने लगा हूँ। सो जी ये बड़ी दिलचस्प बात है, हम इल्ज़ाम लगाते हैं अपने लोकल लीडर्स पर कि जी वो प्रॉपर्टियाँ बेचते हैं, चाहे वो सियालकोट की जगह हो, चाहे फैसलाबाद की जगह हो, किसी भी हो, लेकिन ये जो सीड है प्रॉपर्टी बेचने का, जब मिशनरीज यहाँ से भाग रहे, मैं अभी बताता हूँ आपको कि रीज़न क्या थी। आई विल लेट यू नो कि जैसे रज़ाया साहब ने कहा ना कि जी वो लोकल उन्होंने नहीं बताया उस वक्त मीडिया की वजह से, लेकिन चूंकि नाउ आई हैव एक्सेस टू द होल आर्काइव और मेरे पास दीगर रिसोर्सेज हैं जिसके जरिए मुझे पता है कि कौन सी रीज़न है जो मैं अभी आपके साथ शेयर करता हूं, कौन कौन सी रीज़न थी, लेकिन लोकल लोगों को नहीं बताया और दे स्टार्टेड सेलिंग, और वही बीज जो उन्होंने बोया था मिशनरियों ने प्रॉपर्टी बेचने का, वो आज तक चल रहा है। एंड वी एंटर्ड इन अ कोर्ट कल्चर। जी जज़ाया साहब कैरी ऑन।
ये FC कॉलेज ले ले, नेशनलाइज हो गया।
नेशनलाइज
I
की
was,
हिस्ट्री बताइएगा जो सुन रहे हैं देखने वालों के लिए, व्हाट द हिस्ट्री ऑफ नेशनलाइजेशन, व्हाई एफसी कॉलेज एंड द अदर इंस्टीट्यूशन नेशनलाइज्ड बाय गवर्नमेंट।
yeah, I can tell you about that. Mr. Bhutto came into power after Bangladesh came into being, and Bhutto became the first civilian martial law administrator, because when Bhutto took over, the martial law was in Pakistan. Yahya Khan was the person who was commander-in-chief at that time. So Bhutto, his policy started, he issued many other issues, nationalization of the education, as well as the factories, कारखाना, बहुत से इंस्टीट्यूशन उसने नेशनलाइज किए। अब पर्सनली आई एज ए स्टूडेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस, I believe that there was no harm. It was not nationalization, it was just takeover by the government. There is no harm doing it. But as far as the Christians are concerned, when their institutions were taken, because these were the minority institution, they became the government institution. And we had no access in those institutions after the nationalization. So this was a great loss to the community, and FC College was also part of that. In Sindh or in Punjab, nationalization was implemented. But in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the Peshawar side, they did not accept, because the provincial authority or the chief minister said, we will not accept this nationalization. Likewise, Balochistan. So only the two provinces implemented nationalization policy of Mr. Bhutto. I was working in FC College as a registrar at that time. I realized that we are the owners of the property. I'm keeping myself in the place of PCUSA because they are the real owner. And Lahore Church Council had some authority to protect the property of the Presbyterian Church in our area, Sheikhupura, Lahore, Kasur. So I came to, at that time, to the National Council of Churches. Mr. Mal was secretary. I said, Mal Sahab, कुछ करें, अदारे जा रहे हैं.
Who's the Mal? Can you put his full name?
Mr. William K. Mal.
William K. Mal.
मार्टनपुर से.
Okay.
तो उन्होंने ऐसे हाथ करके कहा, विक्टर हम क्या कर सकते हैं? हैड नो आइडिया. मैंने उनसे कहा, आप सोचो बचाव तो कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि दिस इज ए बिग इशू विच वी आर फेसिंग एट दिस मोमेंट. तो मैं क्या करूं? मैंने कहा एग्जैक्टली मीटिंग बुलाओ. उस वक्त लाल मोती लाल, बिशप अनायत मसीह, सरोया, आदि जेम्स बॉल, many, there were 7-8 PhD people were sitting also in that meeting. And they were also some of the teachers, those who were nationalized. मीटिंग में बैठ के मुझे एज ए ऑब्जर्वर, एज ए कंसल्टेंट बुलाया उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया, लिए जी विक्टर ज़राया मेरे पास आया है, उसने मुझे ये कहा, इसी से पूछ लो क्या करना है.
So that was the meeting of Lahore Church Council, LCC.
No, National Council of Churches.
Oh, NCCP. Okay.
NCCP. That was the big forum. I told them that since the institutions are being taken over, and this is a big loss to the community, because our students will not be admitted by the government agencies, government control. So we have to do something. And I suggested that in the Constitution of Pakistan, there is a clause that the communities have the right to establish and run their own institutions. And there is a contradiction between the martial martial order 118 and the Constitution. I said, हमने इसका सहारा लेके, we should go to the court. They all refused. हम कैसे गवर्नमेंट के खिलाफ केस कर सकते हैं? बिल्कुल हाथ ढीले करके छोड़ दिए, कोई नहीं माना. मैंने कहा, मुझे भी बड़ी मुश्किल हुई उनको समझाने में. मैंने कहा, अगर दो पार्टीज आपस में लड़ जाए पड़े तो इंसाफ के लिए किसके पास जाएंगे? कोर्ट में जाएंगे ना, किसी जज के पास जाएंगे. अब हम दो पार्टी कौन है? एक तो हम है चर्च, दूसरी है गवर्नमेंट. वो किसके पास जाएंगे? हमें कोर्ट में जाना पड़ेगा. ये फार्मूला उनकी समझ में आ गया, एक दो मेंबर्स के.
सही.
और उन्होंने मुझे कहा, जी हाँ, वी मस्ट फाइल द केस. हु शुड फाइल द केस? I said, Bishop Nathancy, chairperson. No, I am Bishop, I can't do it.
Okay.
General Secretary, I am sorry, I can't do it. Vice Chairman, Mr. Albert, YMCA Secretary. No, we are receiving money from outside, I can't do it. We are also nationalized. No one came out. The person who proposed, I said, all right, मेरा नाम लिख लो, मैं आई विल डू इट. हाँ, अज़राया साहब का नाम लिख. उन्होंने मुझे कोई सपोर्ट नहीं किया. मैंने फिर खुद जस्टिस शौकत अली, मेरे वाकिफ थे, मोहसिन थे, उनसे मैंने बात की. मैंने उनको अपना केस समझाया. उन्होंने कहा कि विक्टर, आई गारंटी यू, आई विल गेट ऑल द क्रिश्चियन प्रॉपर्टीज बैक.
Okay, so you filed the case then individually without any local support?
No, individual, on the basis of the secretary of the Lahore Church Council.
Okay, so you were at that time secretary of the NCCP?
No, Lahore Church Council.
LCC, okay.
Yes. So I filed the case in 1972.
72.
Bhutto was alert. The case, I must give credit or praise Bhutto. Of course, I was given a message by the vice chairman of the People Party. After our next election, we will release all the Christian institutions. But that never happened. Because he was happy. जवाहरलाल साहब ने मार्शल लॉ लगा के उनको फांसी दे दी. अब आ गई जवाहरलाल की हुकूमत, इस्लामी हुकूमत, प्योर इस्लामी हुकूमत. And Jamaat Islami was very active in that, because that is also pure Jamaat Islami. Yeah, Jawala policies also. So they took over Rangmal High School, which we used to. I mean, it's a very small thing, but that gave me an idea. There were few shops in the Rangmal High School. Our church was receiving kiraya 60 rupiah, 150 rupiah. So that shows that we are the owners. But the education department stopped that. I took the notice of that. Then I filed another case in the High Court that this is our property and the government has no right to control this. वो मेरी रिट जो है एक्सेप्ट हो गई, लीव ग्रांट हो गई. Ultimately, we went to the Supreme Court, and the decision came in our favor in 1987. अब यहाँ पे एक बहुत important point मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ regarding FC College. Governor Jilani, जवाहरलाल के वक्त, he was governor of the Punjab. He planned to shunt out all the Christians from FC College campus.
Students,
he appointed him,
all Christian students and staff, both?
No, staff.
Okay, staff.
Students of Madhya Dakhil Karo, Jana Karo. And the first target was Victor Azariah. When a Muslim principal took over, I went to my office next day. My office was locked, double locked. एक तो मेरा लॉक था, एक उनका। मैंने वो प्रिंसिपल जो थे मीर यकूब साहब, हमारे कुलीग थे, मेरे बस दफ्तर में बैठ के चाय भी पीते थे, गप्पे भी मारते थे, लेकिन अस्सलाम आ गया। मैंने कहा मीर साहब क्या बात है, यू हैव टू नोट दिस, ही डिड दिस लाइक दिस। यहाँ पर मैं एक क्रिश्चियन भी नहीं रहने दूंगा। Then I said, Mir Sahab, thank you very much. I throw this registrarship on your face and I'm going. I left the job. There and then. I could have worked as a government servant. किसी और जगह चला जाता, लेकिन I said no. Then after 3 days, I realized when he said, I will not leave any Christian on this campus, that made me very cautious about that. Governor Jalani, this was his plan. Zahulak was on the back, and Zahulak also, one of the meetings with the Christians said, forget FC College and Murray College. So that was in my mind. Now I thought, he's a principal, education department, the governor is on the top. कलम उनके हाथ में है, किसी को भी निकाल दे सकते, तो आम मुलाजिम तो कमजोर होता है। Then I thought, I consulted my legal advisor, Justice Shaukat Ali. उन्होंने कहा कि आप कोर्ट में केस दायर करें। I prepared overnight 84 cases, all the Christian resident, and placed in the, we got the stay order. So we were saved because of the stay order. Nobody can take any action. Even if a person is not working in the college, he can live in the house on the campus. So this was the reason I filed the case. And later, when 1987, the Supreme Court decided the property cannot be nationalized. So we were safe. And how FC College came back? Nawaz Sharif never gave this property. And I give you a very, honestly, I'm telling you, PCUSA was trying to get compensation of the FC College from the government.
Compensation से क्या मुराद है आपकी?
पैसे दे दो, ले लो। है तो आप के पास है ना।
Okay.
हम मालिक थे, मालिक हैं, हमें पैसे दे दो। इसकी खबर मुझे बिशप माइकल नजीर अली ने दी।
Okay.
उस वक्त then I confirmed from the education department, and then one of Mr. He came from at that time the PCUSA office was in New York, Riverside. He came to Lahore, and I asked this question. He refused. I said, I am asking you a definite question. No, we will not do without the National Church consultation. I said, you have already done it. Why don't you admit? Oh, yes, we have applied through our embassy. यहाँ से मुझे तकलीफ हुई कि लोकल चर्च को तो पूछते नहीं। Then,
carry on, please. Carry on.
Okay. Then I was quite alert on that. And, so, are you listening?
Yeah, please. No, that's fine. I'm in a live stream program. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
मेरी बात सुन रहे हैं आप?
जी Azariah, please carry on.
And I must give credit, and I remember that missionary, Mr. Bassi. He was very sympathetic. He used to consult me. That was the only person who came to Empress Road from USA as a missionary. He used to consult me, and I was encouraged. And I was doing whatever is possible in the interest of the Pakistani church.
What was his name?
Mr. Bassi.
Can you spell that?
B-U-S-S-I-E, probably. Yeah, why?
So he was PC USA representative over there.
Yes, he was representative.
And which year it was that?
I don't remember exactly. It's a long fighting.
Probably after 1987, or what do you think?
Yes, 1987 तो फैसला हो गया हमारे आगे में, उससे पहले की बात.
Okay, that's before. Got you. Okay.
So this is how things. We never have any support from the PCUSA on this issue, and rather they were against me personally because I was the only person who was in the court and fighting for the interest of the church.
But how come then this FC college, which is now a chartered university, now it has been under the again PC USA partner, and the principal was a former missionary kid, and then even the current principal is also a former diplomat. So how it come now? How it come that they are now having this all?
That's very very interesting question. बात सिर्फ ये है, when we won the case, the property never, the FC college was not denationalized. Mr. Nawaz Sharif was the chairperson, Prime Minister. Shahbaz Sharif was in the Punjab. And they were, before the decision of the court, they were in conversation with the PCUSA to buy the FC college.
Is there any documentary proof or anything, or is it just a claim?
We don't have what this is. We learned about that.
Okay.
We don't have any proof, documentary proof, because that was a private conversation. So FC college, जो main issue था केस का, वो ये था, the property of FC college was transferred by the Governor Jilani himself under his supervision in the name of the government FC college. And this issue, because I know the property system in Pakistan as well as the constitution of Pakistan, I was fully convinced unless we God changed this ownership from government to church, we will never get this FC college back. Because no power can give the government property to the private sector. Then the scene came, we got it remutated in the name of the church, and then the property became the church, PCUSA became owner of the property. अब ये अब खुदा की मर्जी है जिसने क्रिश्चियंस को हेल्प किया. General Pervez Musharraf, he was FC college student. He studied there. Pervez Alai, in my time, he was studying over there as a chief minister of Punjab. He was in central government and he was in Punjab. So they both visited FC college as an old student. I was not present, but I heard. He said, Pervez, जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट कहती है वापस कर दो तो तुम वापस क्यों नहीं करते? Because he was the Punjab chief minister.
Yeah.
That was a provincial subject, education. So this is how FC college came back to the church.
So now, who is the owner? Who is the actually overseeing the whole property in there? Is a council? Is a board, and what?
There is a board of directors of FC college, separate management, and they are responsible to look after.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you very much. This is a fascinating history, but there are a few also points which are worth to notice and consider as a local church in Pakistan. Number one, let me take you back actually when Mr. Azariah says that what were the reasons we doesn't know, but as a mission student and has an access to the archives and other resources, I will give you three or couple of points which influenced and impacted missionaries. Actually, number one was theology. A theology of mission shifted after World War II because all these colonial powers were crumbling and their economy was lessening. So that was the number one reason on a global scale, because colonial power was crumbling and they don't have resources. Beside that, there was a theological formula which has been introduced by three mission theorists. They have a name. There was a Van, then there was a Allen, and there was another missionary, and they introduced three self formula to the whole mission enterprise, and that was give local indigenous churches, because we cannot hold more, because we don't have colonial power now, we are losing our grip on these countries politically and economically. So that's why let's introduce new theology of three self formula, and this was self-propagating, self-supporting, and number three was self-admitting. Although without theology or contextual theology, that was not possible, because this theology also again came from the Western perspective. So they give, and the result was the local church and the local leadership were not designed, or they were not prepared or educated to handle these finances, local finances and local properties. So that's why we see that whenever we have these properties came, there was a disaster, and there was a rat race of power and privilege, and how can we keep that one our name. That was number one, theological. Then the global world was second two. Number two was political, as I mentioned earlier, especially in 1960s when there was Arab-Israel war. All majority players of the American or Presbyterian missions, those, because America was ally at that time with Israel, and all the Arabs were, we all know that mostly Jewish community departed from Pakistan at that time. And that was a time when there was a large missionary flight in 1960s when there was the Arab-Israel war. That was the second reason. And then there was as mentioned, Mr. Azariah mentioned, the civil rights movements, and also a civil war actually in America. That was a time when church has no extra budget or excess money. And I think that was another reason which Mr. Azariah mentioned, that the missionaries were getting some amount of money from the properties in the areas which they have already purchased under the colonial era. So at that time, they purchased in a way that it was accessible, it was cheap, and they can get in a easy money. But now the church, the local church, so it was all designed just like the Red Cliff Mission, how they divide India from their perspective without knowing the land geography. They're the same way missionaries have the same mindset and ideology when they try to purchase and they try to flow from there. And then what they did, that's the reason you can say that if you read the theological curricula in our seminaries, that is one of my another critique. Our theological curricula is not designed to create thinkers or theologians. They were designed to manage properties only. They're designed to manage only local things which they can do. They cannot become a critical thinker. That's what we need to revisit our curricula and our leadership if we want to go further and having a self-supportive and self-theologizing church in our own country. Okay. Azariah, Mr. Azariah, thank you very much for this a whole brief history. But what do you think? What is the role of Christian institutions and leaders after missionary flight from Pakistan? Did we do some good, or we were all fighting, or what we were doing actually?
As you have already expressed this idea, the local people, all of a sudden, missionaries went out without giving anything to them. The properties are still in the name of the Presbyterian Church USA. And they said, no, you cannot do anything on this without our permission. I give you an example. In Kasur, there is a chunk of land which I told you before that I told them the schools are nationalized. Give me that. There are two big kothis, Bangalore. I will start a new school over there for the Christians as well as Muslim students. These 7, 8 missionaries at that time, those who were present over here, in which Dr. Tabby, senior, and many others from different places, you know what they said to me? Sorry, this is the A grade property, we cannot give you that. What is this A grade? I asked him, कि ये वो मिशनरियों के लिए बनाई थी जो है. Dr. Tabby, in Pakistan now, you go to everywhere, there are much better buildings, houses, kothis, or you can see that. वो तो खंडर है सारे, लेकिन they refuse to. इसीलिए मुझे परेशानी रही कि ये छोड़ के तो चले गए हैं, लेकिन कंट्रोल अपना बेचने के लिए देसी लोग जो अपॉइंट किए थे 6 emperors, they were selling the property on their behalf. Or they have damaged the church total. चर्च गिरजे तो नहीं बेच सकते थे, ये तो पक्की बात है, लेकिन कोई भी इनके जो प्रॉपर्टी इनके हाथ में आई इन्होंने बेच दी. अब रिसेंटली डॉक्टर टैबी जूनियर, it's a different issue, but somehow it's connected. In FC College, did you see FC College?
Yeah.
जो गेट है गुलबर्ग साइड से, उसके साइड पे एक तरफ टेनिस ग्राउंड्स हैं और दूसरी तरफ 35-40 कनाल जमीन थी खाली. उन्होंने एक जो केटर थे मैरिज हॉल बनाने के लिए दे दी इन एफसी कॉलेज प्रीमिसेस. Are you listening?
जी जी.
मेरे पास लोग आए कि मैरिज हॉल बन रहा है एफसी कॉलेज. मैंने कहा ऐसे हाउ इट्स पॉसिबल कि एफसी कॉलेज में मैरिज हॉल बने. मुझे बड़े लोगों ने कहा, मुझे एक शख्स जो बहुत बात है, कहने लगे जी हम तो हैं मुलाजिम, हम तो बोल नहीं सकते, कुछ करो. आई आस्क्ड बिशप रेजिडेंट जॉन मलक, उसने मुझे कोई सही जवाब नहीं दिया, बोर्ड का मेंबर था. Then I wrote a letter to Dr. Tabby.
Okay.
Very strong letter. And on the end, in the end, I wrote, please avoid court and media. After third day, after receiving this letter, he cancelled the deal.
Okay.
And now that place is used by the students as a playground. As a basketball and football ground.
So, well, that is interesting because मैं पिछले दिनों एक और बुक पढ़ रहा था जो कि एक इजिप्शियन स्कॉलर हैं, उन्होंने पब्लिश की है, क्योंकि ये दिलचस्प बात है कि जो यूपीसीएनए का मिशन था और जो अप्रोचेस थी और जो मिशनरी प्रॉपर्टीज़ और मिशनरी जो थियोलॉजी और मिशनरी जो एडमिन था, दैट वाज सेम अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, स्पेशली इन द मुस्लिम कॉन्टेक्स्ट. मिस्र और पाकिस्तान के अंदर जो उस वक्त इंडिया मिशन था, इजिप्ट एंड इंडिया मिशन, they were launched at the same time, because that was the Muslim context, that was the multi-pluralistic context. However, the missionary approach was same, and the administration was same, and the finances. That's how you can see that. Now you can see the patterns actually कि अभी तक भी हमारा जो dependency है, जो financial dependency है, that is totally upon the West. और सेल्फ प्रोपोगेटिंग का उन्होंने दिया, ओके जी, फार्मूला दिया. सेल्फ सपोर्टिंग का दिया तो सही, बट दैट सेल्फ सपोर्टिंग वाज अगेन फनल डाउन थ्रू द वेस्टर्न फंडिंग, एंड दैट्स हाउ दे कंट्रोल द होल एंटरप्राइज. So this is a critique actually. That's why we are talking about decolonizing contextual theology and contextual mission practices. How can we decolonize? अब इसमें मैं समझूंगा मिशनरियों का भी कसूर नहीं है, because they were coming from that perspective, they were coming and they were trained
Yes, this is their policy.
yeah, they have to deal the local church. That's in the same way the colonials were dealing with
Yes,
their
yes,
with their colonized people. So that's happened. Same thing. Sometime when we see Gora Chamdi, और हम समझते हैं कि जी बड़े ये हैं, although there were good people also. But however, when the church became enterprise, when the church became institutional and a global business model, that's how things change. That's what we were experiencing here. Well, Azariah Sahab, so we talk about the like the political, ecclesial, and religious factor. Well, I think at that same time, under the Ziaul Haq, that blasphemy law also came in, so that that also impacted Christian church as well as the ethnicities and the minorities. The role of Christian institution and leaders we talk about after missionary flights. So, in my opinion, there were a court culture arises, and because there was a backup of the missionaries behind this property selling mafia in the church, so that's why the court culture and the property selling culture was involved and came with the colonial power, with the backup of colonial powers into the church. So there are many resources and modern methods available to Christians in Pakistan. Well, no, before that. So how do you think, what are some of the key elements that has shaped Christian evangelism in Pakistan? What were the key? How we engage to our majority neighbors? How that impacted?
There are so many churches, Church of Pakistan, Presbyterian Church, Salvation Army, they have their own way. We are particularly talking about the Presbyterian Church today. The Presbyterian Church have no policy. The reason is, they are all divided. And main reason is the setup. You might have seen the constitution, which I have sent to you. The moderator, if he's a pastor, the vice moderator has to be not pastor, but someone else, non-pastor. But the whole executive committee is the presbytery's moderators, all pastors. और आप अंदाजा लगा सकते हैं उनमें कितनी अकल हो. They have no idea to run the institution. Presbyterian Church is a big institution, very big. From, you can say, from Pindi to Karachi. But we don't have any leadership in the Presbyterian Church. अनपढ़ लोग हैं. अगर किसी ने BA MA भी कर लिया तो वो भी पिसा हुआ शख्स है, अकल से आ रही है. So there is no, you might have seen or known, so many groups came up in Presbyterian Church. There were 4 groups were working recently. उनकी मियादें खत्म हो गई, अब वो मीटिंग नहीं बुला रहे. The meeting should have been held in September and November every year. अब तक कोई मीटिंग नहीं हुई प्रेसिडेंट चर्च ऑफ पाकिस्तान की जनरल पोस्ट की.
Can you tell us the major fractions right now? Because according to archive, they have only details about the McIntyre and the fragmentation which happened in 1968, but they don't have the recent updated fractions of the Presbyterians.
ये लोकल जो लोकल पास्टर हैं हमारे, ये आपस में बटे हुए हैं. एक पास्टर मॉडरेटर बन जाता है, वो बाहर से किसी तरीके से पैसे से मिल जाते हैं, उसके पास 20-30 लोग आगे, वो अपना ग्रुप लेके बैठ पैसे देता है. मनी वर्क्स हियर. पास्टर गरीब हैं, गांव के रहने वाले हैं, जहाँ से उनको पैसे मिलते हैं वो उसके पीछे हो जाते हैं. Since there is no organized church, that's the main problem. Now I tried from the last 30-40 years for the unity of this church. I may be able to succeed this time because there is no body is existing And they asked me what to do. I said, the Constitution allows. If 10 moderator presbyteries get together in this kind of situation, they can decide and hold the general house. And they have decided to do that. Probably around 28th, there will be general house, and Reverend Reuben, they have nominated as the moderator, and some other officers. So I have some hope the Presbyterian Church may come together as in a body, united body.
So you are, what I am hearing from you, you are saying that because of the lack and the huge gap of a local leadership, there was a no body existing because of the fragmentation groups in the PCP. So currently, following the constitution, there was a meeting held recently, and you are saying Reverend Reuben Kummer. Is it the same Reuben Kummer in the FC pastor?
Yes.
So is he the right now? Is he the moderator of the PCP or what?
He is nominated as moderator.
Nominated.
But when the general house will happen, then this will be confirmed, and then he will be legal moderator.
Okay. Okay, so we talk about the methods available in Pakistan. So you are saying that there is no mission plan, there is no mission theology, there is no mission strategy.
Absolutely, there is nothing. Absolutely, even the seminary has no. You might have studied over there. There is no syllabus. There is no curriculum. Teacher comes and whatever they want to say, they go give the lectures and go. And recently, there are two PhD, Dr. Masood and Dr. What's the name of that lady? Farahana. There is local politics with the principal, and they have to leave. 4 people left seminary.
So why? Because GTS, I assume GTS is a separate entity from the church administration. How come that? How they are?
GTS because they have a board of directors. They have their own board. So Majid became the chairperson, and he is the cause of dispute in this seminary. So they left. They joined someone. Dr. Farahana joined Bishop Azad seminary. Masood joined some organization, NGOs in Islamabad, and this is how they lose 2%.
Well, this is a real gloomy photo and a picture which you are showing right now.
Very gloomy.
And so what hopes do we have? What do you see as an experienced person? You have seen a lot of ups and down, dark ages of the church, even the political level and even the institutions. What is the hope? What you are seeing, and what do you suggest to the church and those who are watching and to the future leaders? How can we come out from this dark age of the PCP?
I think that leadership is the only reason for the debacle of the institution. And leadership, if comes proper leadership, they will bring out up from this situation. And I hope that those people coming now, they are not so expert. They are from the same lot. But if the top leader is good, understand, then he can give the direction. And if they don't do anything wrong, then the church might come out of this problem.
Well,
but it is not, we can't say at this moment. We hope.
Well, because what I'm hearing, because the leadership produced from theological seminary, technically, and you are saying that curricula is not developed and is not regulating, and they are not equipping and preparing actually leadership which is capable to have the leadership, proper leadership role in the church. So it means, are you suggesting that the church and the seminary need to seriously thinking about changing curricula, or what is your suggestion to the production house as a seminary and then as the current leadership? How can we, because that's the only way you get the future leadership.
Yes. I remained member of the seminary board for several years. Arthur James was the principal. I suggested them that you admit students those do not have the real background for studies. उनको उर्दू भी ठीक नहीं आती, अंग्रेजी भी नहीं आती. It is, you redesign the whole situation. Bring them, students, who they are available, teach them. First, give them teaching for the intermediate class, BA class, graduation. And if you admit 100 students, in the end, if you have only 30, 40 students available doing graduation, then pick up, ask them who wants to be a seminarian, and teach Arabic, teach Hebrew and Greek. These are very important languages for Pakistanis. Of course, it's not 3 years course. This might take 5 years, because the students will have also one period for the Christian education. And they accepted it, but they never implemented it.
So
you have to train the students for future leadership. अनपढ़ अगर पादरी बना के बाहर निकालते वो तो यही काम करेंगे जो इस वक्त हो रहा है.
Well, I will have a different perspective also. I'm also a product of GTS. There are myriads of other students around the world, those who are working, and they are a good result they are bringing from the GTS, and I have quite high hopes. But as you suggested, we need to revisit curricula. I don't see, well, theologically, obviously Arabic, Hebrew, Greek, that's important from a biblical languages as well as Arabic, because we are in a Muslim context. But in a post-pandemic era, right now, because the whole educational world, especially I'm right now in the Western academic arena, so we see that everything is coming on internet, and everything is coming online, and virtual teaching is taking over around the world. And I think that Christian education, you suggested we need to teach our pastors, those who are students, but there are few others, modern, postmodern courses we need to introduce. Well, I personally believe, as you mentioned earlier, GTS has, and the church has, a lots of crisis earlier, 1968 crisis, then 71 crisis, then 87 crisis, although missionaries played positive and negative both role, and then again the local leadership plays both negative and positive roles. But however, we cannot say that there is no future. We have a future, and Mr. Azariah has given us like a suggestion and some ideas and concepts to revisit not only theological curricula, but also the administration of the church, as well as he suggested us that we need to bring fresh blood in the fresh wineskin, fresh vision, actually, to rejuvenate, actually, to revive the church. Mr. Azariah, what is the message you would like to give to as a Presbyterian churchman, and as well as a layperson, and have been a vast investment experience in the church polity as well? So what are the three main suggestions which you will give to the church to redirect their future, and what hopes you can give them?
The basic issue or question is, हम सच बोले.
Okay, truth.
अगर हम सच नहीं बोलते, किसी चीज में कामयाब नहीं हो सकते. And that is the main thing which we are facing, because it's a very vast subject which you have explained at this moment. If we touch one on one, then that might take hours and hours to discuss this. We are all telling lie to each other. We are not honest to our own self. A teacher is not honest. A student is also not honest. A pastor who is working, they are not honest. They do preach from the pulpit. Why people are not guided? Why the church is divided? Something is wrong somewhere. Until unless we see that when we read Bible, खुदा यीशु मसीह ने अपनी टॉक में कई दफ़ा कहा, मैं तुमसे सच सच कहता हूँ, मैं तुमसे सच सच कहता हूँ, सच नहीं है, सच्चाई नहीं। लेक्चर तो बहुत बड़ा किया जा सकता है, डिफरेंट इशू पे किया, बट द बेसिक थिंग इज वी आर नॉट ऑनेस्ट टू ईच अदर, वी आर नॉट ऑनेस्ट टू आवरसेल्फ.
Okay, truth, honesty. What is the last one?
If you work hard and according to the design or constitution, whatever is you have, for example, if they have followed the constitution, the PCP, there could have been no division. But nobody cares for that. We must follow the principles which are designed to run an institution. We must follow the biblical teaching which gives the strength to the institutions. और सच्चाई के बगैर हम नहीं चल सकते, हम सच नहीं बोलते.
थैंक यू वेरी मच मिस्टर अज़राया. और जितने हमारे सुनने वाले देखने वाले हैं, आपने मिस्टर अज़राया को सुना है, उनके पेन को, उनकी स्ट्रगल को और उनकी लाइफ इन्वेस्टमेंट को आपने गौर किया है. आई नो ही हैज़ अ मच मोर टू से, बट इन दिस ब्रीफ टाइम पीरियड वी कैन ओनली स्क्रैच द सर्फेस राइट नाउ. और जो उन्होंने मेजर इश्यूज थे जो उन्होंने डिस्कस किए हैं, एक चीज़ जो हमने देखी है जो कि मेरे भी इल्म में नहीं थी, मैंने भी आज सीखी है कि बाज़ औक़ात जो लोअर लेवल पे जो करप्शन आती है, वेदर इट्स अ करप्शन, डिवीजन, whatever, they have their fathers behind that, they have some powerful people behind that. And in this case we have learned, and I have no fear to say that the missionary did blunders in Pakistan.
Oh, true. That's true.
And we need to unpack that history to make our future bright as a local church, not as dependent of everything.
We don't need any help from outside. We are enough to help ourselves.
Yeah, so this is a critical, right now in a global arena, there are movements where they are decolonizing theological curricula, they are decolonizing church polities, they are decolonizing everything around the world, and Pakistan and Pakistani church, especially Presbyterian church in Pakistan, they need also to decolonize themselves, decolonize their theology, decolonize their church polity, and whatever the constitution we have, as Mr. Azariah said, we need, if we follow that constitution, we can regain our past glory. Presbyterian Church has given a lot to the Pakistani community.
Oh, yes.
Although there are lots of we are not angels, we are flawed people, we have weaknesses, but still we are human beings, and we depend upon God's grace and God's provision. As we have seen in the form of the FC College University, we have received God's provision in the form of the government, whether it was military or whatever, but there was some good side, as well as church institution, the church medical witness, church educational witness, and church social care witness. But right now we are struggling with the future leadership and the division, fragmentation in the church, and that's what Mr. Azariah has suggested us as a senior churchman. We need to tell truth. That's number one. Number two, be honest to yourself, and honest to your congregation, honest to your family, honest to your community. And number three, he suggested, if we work hard, if we strive for the excellence, we can achieve whatever we have. And with this comment, with this hope and pray, Mr. Azariah, thank you very much. And those who have watched, I'm trying to bringing more programs which will give us now the missionary perspectives also. Today we only talk internal amic voice, not attic outside voice, internal voice, through Mr. Azariah about the missionary and the mission role, mission practices in Pakistan. Hopefully I will be bringing Dutch mission practices in Pakistan, as well as Church Mission Society, CMS, as well as Scottish practices in Pakistan. And the purpose of this program is to having first-hand primary resources on our mission history to develop our future and build our future. May God bless you all. Mr. Azariah, thank you very much for your time and your view, your reflection. May God bless you, and we pray for your good health and blessing to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me, and God bless you. And of course, I do not know whether I have satisfied you or not, but whatever I had in my mind, because we are talking extempore, many things you have to recall, which is not possible in a short time. So thank you very much for inviting me for this issue.
God bless you all. Thank you.